Live. Do you want me to just start?
Well, we are live, so hold on just 1 second.
Welcome to Coffee with Democrats, a sensible platform for progressive conversations. Coffee with Democrats is a grassroots movement dedicated to hearing from Democrats, candidates, legislators, and friends from all political backgrounds who want great conversations. Coffee with Democrats is committed to increase Democrat voter registration and Democrat voter turnout by making voting more exciting and meaningful. And now here's your host of Coffee with Democrats, Kevin Dawson.
Well, good morning and welcome to Coffee Break on Coffee with Democrats. We were going live as we were having just a normal little conversation. I love this thing. You know, it's not scripted, folks. You know that by watching it. You know it's not scripted. But we have a very special guest today, somebody that I love. I really respect her immensely. She is somebody with a huge amount of education. She is the consummate candidate that we need to run for the Senate in Senate District 21 up at Stillwater. So everybody, please join me in welcoming Robin Fuxa. Robin, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, Kevin. I'm doing well. Thank you. I'm really excited to be here with you. I appreciate everything you do.
Well, it's not what I do that matters. It's what you're doing that matters. You are such a great candidate, and I want to do everything I can to help you elevate your campaign and get your campaign the exposure that it really needs, because you are a fantastic person. You're a fantastic candidate. You've got an immense amount of education, the knowledge, experience, everything that is required to be a senator. You've got everything. And I'm just so excited for you to say that you're running. We had this conversation a few months ago. It just seems like yesterday that we just had this conversation. Right. And now we're back at it again. But I want to turn it over to you and let's talk about what's going on in your part of the prairie.
Absolutely. Things are going really beautifully. I've got a great team. We're working incredibly hard to knock as many doors as we can. Really working to reach out across the district. It's an expansive district geographically. It goes from most of Stillwater through south and east through most of Payne County, and even on into Creek County through Manford to the Tulsa County line. And we've been in all of those communities, making sure that we're accessible. That's really important to me as someone from a rural background. I grew up in Chandler. There were about 100 kids in each class at Chandler, to give you a ballpark of the size of that community, I want to say about 3,000. And then I moved to Seminole right before my junior year of high school, and I was one of 28 graduates from Strother High School. Not many folks know Strother, but it was a great school, and we had great experiences there. So my public school background is part of what informs my life, and is one of the reasons I'm running, because it gave me the springboard I needed to be the person I am right now. My parents are both brilliant people, but I'm a first generation college student. And so those opportunities were from my public schooling, that they insisted that we had access to great public schools. And I want to continue to honor that for my kids. So that's definitely one of the reasons I'm running. And then with my kiddos, I've got an 18-year-old who's a freshman at Oklahoma State, go Pokes. And then I have an 11-year-old who's a fifth grader here in Stillwater. And they have incredible teachers, and I'm so grateful for that. And we need to keep them in those classrooms. In my work at Oklahoma State, I have written more references than I would like to admit of folks fleeing our state, because we've created a teacher exodus through our poor policy choices, and we can fix that through better policy choices. So that's one of the reasons I'm running. So I'm excited to work on that. Our 32% gap between what a teacher and other bachelor's holders makes is egregious, and we've got to address that.
You know, you mentioned something. And let's talk about this just for a second. Your mom.
Yeah.
How exciting is it that the very first time that your 18-year-old has an opportunity to vote, that your name is going to be on the ballot and they're going to be able to vote for you? That is really an exciting thing. I'm excited for you and your family.
Yes, we are thrilled. And actually, Emory's had 2 opportunities to vote already. So school board election and the presidential primary. But we are really thrilled that come November, Emory will be able to cast a vote for me. So that is very exciting for all of us. In fact, she will also be able to cast a vote for our dear friend, Representative Ranson, because our home is not in that district, but the dormitory is. So that's going to be exciting as well. Yes.
Well, that is wonderful. And we got to talk a little bit more about your campaign,
Sure.
and specifically how people can help you with your campaign.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kevin. We've got a lot of opportunities to plug in. The number one way to help out is either to knock doors with us or to drive for someone else who's knocking doors. That's just a really important way that we reach voters and move the needle on the conversation. That person-to-person, friend-to-friend, neighbor-to-neighbor conversation is so critical. So showing up for those days, we've got one on Saturday at 4:00. We'll be kicking off at Payne County DEM headquarters at 1002 South Husband. So we're pumped about that one. And then we will also meet on Sunday at 1:00 at Aspen at Fountain Square. So we're doing a double header this weekend. We're really excited to get those going. And then Monday, the 30th in Tulsa, I'm really excited. I've got a set of phenomenal hosts for a fundraiser in Tulsa at 5:30 to 7:30 at the Vault. I taught on our OSU Tulsa campus for several years a while back. And so I'm really excited to reconnect with friends in the Tulsa area, a lot of teachers and other friends in that community. So I'm very grateful to the hosts who are putting on that fundraiser Monday night. So those are just a few of the things we have coming up, but we are staying really busy and it's fantastic. It's a real joy.
And one of the things that all of the volunteers want to know about, the people that you talk to when you're going out knocking on doors and doing your phone banking, is they always want to know in not so many words, but they're wanting to know what your strategy is. What exactly is it that you're running on, what your platform is, what your policies are, what the things are that you're wanting to change. And I know public education has got to be high on your list, but we also have women's issues that we got to talk about as well. So, kind of give you an idea of, at least tell us a little bit about some of those conversations that you have and what you think, the best strategy for you going forward with those conversations.
Absolutely. So I'll start with my focus issues, and then I'll move it a little bit more into strategy. Thank you. So number one, again, along with genuinely funding our public schools, we've also got to hold Ryan Walters accountable alongside everyone who has allowed that level of corruption. And that's a sign of one of the many reasons we need to address our supermajority situation in our state. We would have greater accountability if we had greater balance. So Walters is a cog in that privatization machine. We've seen a push nationally for school privatization, and he's certainly working hard at that. So we've got to interrupt that, protect our public schools. They're the heart of our communities. So that, as I said, is number one. But then as an educator, you have a window into folks' lives, and that can be a really exciting and beautiful thing, and it can break your heart. So we desperately need greater access to healthcare in our state. In a few ways. We're still one of the highest uninsured states in the country at about 12% of our neighbors who don't have health care. So we do have sooner care for children, but I can tell you when an adult in the family is struggling, it's hard on everyone. And we want to make sure our neighbors have access to care. Number one, for their well-being, but number two, it's an economic need for our state. It actually saves us funds when our neighbors have access to health care. So it's smart ethically and it's smart economically. So that's certainly something I want to work on. And then we need more general practitioners. We need far greater access to women's care in our state. People are often driving more than 30 minutes to see any doctor. Lots of healthcare deserts statewide. And that's, again, hard for our well-being. And it costs us more. So we've got to address that. And we're going to have to prepare Oklahomans in those fields because incentive programs oftentimes bring people in and then they leave right away when that funding stops flowing. So Oklahomans can do incredible work in those fields, but we've got to make those educational opportunities accessible for them. So that's one of my priorities for sure. But with women's care right now, I think we have to acknowledge the fact that our total ban on reproductive care is dangerous. It is, in fact, a concern for everyone of childbearing years and everyone who loves someone who's of childbearing years, because we know that women don't have access to the care they need. even when their life is in danger right now because of the position we've put our medical professionals in with this total ban on reproductive care. So that is deeply concerning to me. And it's deeply concerning to our health professionals. In a recent survey, 70% of OBGYNs said they were considering leaving Oklahoma in the near future. We have to correct that yesterday, but I will start with as soon as I am elected. We cannot lose our health professionals and leave women getting care for the first time when they're in labor in far too many circumstances. That's dangerous for all of us.
And I was trying to look up a statistic that I just recently saw where people in, I believe it's Louisiana and Oklahoma, maybe it's Alabama and Oklahoma, are the two highest states in the nation for prosecuting women for healthcare needs. And that's just a very dismal statistic.
So
and even something even more troubling than that is the state of Oklahoma is up there with some of the other states, like the state of Texas, with the number of people who are denied access because of rape.
Right.
The women who are raped in this state have no options now. I know that we've got some stuff going on within our judicial system in the state of Oklahoma that may have given a little bit of relief, but it's not giving the absolute relief that they really need. And it's disturbing. But
yes,
we're seeing, and again, not to say anything disparaging against any of our teachers, but on our education side in the state of Oklahoma, we rely on this testing system. And where we want to go on test and say, all right, that's our measure of success. I don't think that's the only way of measuring success.
Absolutely. And any teacher would tell you the same. Absolutely. Right. Those are imposed historically through No Child Left Behind, and we have a lot of vestigial effects from that. But our state requires more testing than we have to, right. Which is another can of worms we should address. Yes.
Right. But it also puts us in a ranking system with other states. It puts us among one of the worst states. And again, we're not one of the worst states, folks. We're just the testing system makes it look like we're bad, and it makes it look like it's a referendum against our teachers and against our administration, when in fact it's kind of the top leadership who is failing by pushing a certain type of test that really isn't beneficial to the students. So,
well, even with, frankly, Walters shifted the way the testing outcomes would be presented to show more students doing well, and we still did not make the headway we wanted to see. Primarily, our teacher. Let me back up and say very clearly, our teachers are doing yeoman's work with the resources they have available.
I agree.
Absolutely, they are doing incredible work with what they have available, but we've got to support them better. One of the big calls in 2018 in the walkout was more classroom resources, more overall funding. We are $2,000 per child per year below the regional average. We are not a well-funded region. So that has an astronomical effect just locally. That's about 14 million. I think it's about 13 million that Stillwater would have annually if we were in a neighboring state, as one example. That's staggering. So that affects our class sizes, the resources teachers have to do the work, the support personnel and their compensation, not to mention the number of support personnel in those settings that can support students who have profound needs and make the classroom cook along better for individual kiddos and for that teacher. So we have so much work to do to better support our schools. So yes, Walters is wreaking havoc in terms of his rhetoric. We're all well aware of that, but he's also not getting Stillwater, last I heard, still had not received some of their title funds.
Right.
And that's a decision to actively harm our public schools. Because again, we know he's working very hard at a job he was not asked to do for Oklahomans. He's working to harm our public schools.
Right.
So we have to address that. Absolutely. And then I would also say alongside that performance comparison, we're doing incredibly well. Our graduation rates and those kinds of things are doing incredibly well with the circumstances we have created. And the last thing I would add to that is that we have over 5,000 emergency certified teachers as of last year. We are set to break that emergency certified. We're set to break that again this year. And that does not include the adjuncts who have no degree at all, who are serving our children. I'm sure doing the best they can, but that's an incredibly difficult way to begin an incredibly difficult profession in the first place. We've got to prepare educators better. We've got to serve our children better. No parent sends their child to school going, well, gosh, I hope the least qualified teacher walks into that classroom this year. We owe our children and our communities better than that. And we've got to make better policy choices to reverse this trend.
I'll tell you what, you got me fired up right there, because, that just really kind of brings it home what we really need to focus on. And folks, that's the reason why I'm supporting and endorsing Robin for Senate. I really think that she is the best candidate for that position, and she will make a very big impact once she gets to the Senate very quickly, because again, she is highly respected on both sides of the aisle, and within the Democrats, they will make her a leader in a hurry. So we are really needing to get her elected. In order to do that, she needs money. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, certainly. We're working hard to raise funds for everything from our mail program to digital ads. And of course, everything goes toward that direct voter contact. We're working to reach everybody we can, newspaper ads. It all costs a good chunk of money, unfortunately. That's the landscape we're in. And so every dollar goes toward reaching voters to try to make sure we let them know about the choice they have available. I think it's important to note, in my particular race, my opponent was sending Ryan Walters a check while I was raising the alarm. He'd shown us who he was prior to the election through his blanket approval debacle and many other things, not to mention his nasty rhetoric toward our educators in public schools. And so my opponent was sending him a check about that time. So we have a very clear choice to make about whether we're going to support our public schools in this election.
Well, that's outstanding. And again, folks, we're not asking you to go broke by supporting Robin. We just want you to do what you can. And here's an example. If you go to a coffee shop and you buy a coffee, think about Robin once a week and support her. Again, this is Coffee with Democrats. We can support her by buying her a cup of coffee, the equivalent of a cup of coffee, $5 a week. And if you go to Starbucks, it's going to be $10 a week. But we're not asking anybody to go to Starbucks at that point. Just give a little bit at a time. And again, if you can do a 1 cup of coffee a week, the equivalent of that, do so. And go to, I've got it on the screen right there, the secureactblue.com, donate to Fuxa. And it's all there available for you to be able to support her. And again, if it's just $1 that you can give, that's fine. If it's $5 you can give, that's great. If you can give more than that, you're a rock star. We really want to thank you for all of the support that you can give, because being a politician anywhere in the United States today is not an easy process. And so many politicians are having to use their own money to run, when in fact they're running to represent you. So you need to have a stake in that as well, and support your candidate, because they are very, very good. And in particular, Robin, I'm telling you, she is at the very top of the very best of the best. We really need to do everything we can to support her. I got fired up, and I'm having to hold myself back because I don't want to get too excited and make a scene here, because Robin is such a wonderful, steady person that we really need to stay on her side and support her in the very best way that she needs. So it's so great to see you again. So great to have a conversation with you. We've met so many different times in different places, and it's always so enjoyable for me to be able to spend time and just listen to you and have these engaging conversations, because you're always such a perfectionist, and I love that about you.
Well, I'll tell you what, I always look forward to talking with you, Kevin. Holler anytime. I sure appreciate you.
Well, thank you very much. Hey, folks, we're going to have Tegan Malone is going to be on tomorrow, 10 o'clock. Please come back and watch her. Then we've got a full slate next week of shows that are going to be kind of reruns next week. I'm going to be in Colorado getting some therapy. But when I get back, we're going to be hitting the road hard. A week from Monday, we're going to have Dennis Baker. And then Monday night, we're doing a fundraiser here in Norman, Oklahoma for one of our Senate candidates, which we want to help all of our Senate candidates, just like Robin, but this is for Elizabeth Foreman, and we're going to do that at our house here in Norman, Oklahoma. So we're doing everything we can to support all of our Democrats and all of our candidates. So please come back and watch our show and continue to help support our show as much as you can. So thank you for being on Coffee Break on Coffee with Democrats, Robin.
It was a pleasure. I sure appreciate it.
Yes, thank you very much. Hey, folks, until the next time, please be safe.